Hey guys, Sam here at NA Studios. Thanks so much for checking the video out. Today I want to take a look at how we can control and improve the low end in rock and metal masters using the new modules that we've got in Ozone 10. Let's check it out. So I love to use Ozone for mastering, and I love to use it in conjunction with Tonal Balance Control because it gives you such a great overview of how the frequency balance across your master is working. Now you'll see that in this track when I play it, I've got some issues with the low end, and it's this section here. This is the crest factor. So this is talking about how dynamic your low end is. If the node goes too far over to the left hand side, it means that it's too dynamic. If it goes too far over to the right hand side, it means it's too compressed. You'll see in this track we are a little too dynamic, and we're hearing a lot of kick but not a lot of anything else in the bottom end, and Ozone 10 is really good at helping with this. Check out how the track sounds before and how it sounds after we've applied these modules.
Oh, it takes a man to know when something's gone. I come to you like I'm the only one to come and go. But life is not a one-act show. It's not over till I'm done.
So you can see that crest factor improves. It gets more into that center section. It's still bordering on the side of being a little too dynamic, but more importantly, it sounds far better. It sounds so much fatter. Let's take a look at exactly how I'm achieving this. Now for this, you're going to need to be in front of studio monitors, a good set of speakers, or a decent set of headphones so you can really feel the effect of this low end taking place. So I'm going to make it so you can see both of these screens at the same time. You'll see Ozone and then you'll see Tonal Balance Control over here. One thing to be aware of is that this takes a little while to catch up because it's dealing with an overall kind of bottom end instantaneously. It doesn't really make a difference, and you have to watch it over the kind of period of that you're listening to. So just bear that in mind. You're not going to see instant changes. It's more of an overall thing. So I'm going to get rid of these modules that I've got engaged and just deal with the imager for the moment. This is more of a safety check, and I'm just taking this all the way down in the low end. So I'm just making all that bottom end mono. I don't want anything in the far left and right. And this is everything below 250 Hertz. So it's just kind of a good practice thing, just a housekeeping thing, which is just allowing me to make sure there's no bottom end energy that's taking up space in the far left and right. It's not something you're going to massively hear, but we'll take a listen to a before and after, just so we can see that it's not having any kind of detrimental effect. So here it is before, and then I'll bring the plugin on.
Oh, it takes a man to know when something's gone. I come to you like I'm the only one.
Maybe a subtle amount of tightening there, but these next three modules are really where it gets interesting. So we've got two new modules. This is Impact, then we've got Stabilizer, and Low End Focus, which came in on a previous version, but it's still amazing for bottom end. Let's take a listen to Impact and see what we're doing here. So Impact, on the left hand side we have these faders, and this is one for the first band, then the second band is on the second fader, third and fourth, etc. The first band again is just working in that sub 250 Hertz range. What I'm doing here is I'm taking this fader all the way down. If I'm bringing it all the way up, then we are expanding that bottom end. If we're bringing it down, then we're kind of compressing. We're not compressing in the traditional sense of ratio, threshold, attack, release. We're just kind of making the difference between the pokey out bits, the transient stuff, and the longer ranging stuff a little bit less. And we've got a really helpful button on here called the Delta. And what Delta does is it allows you to hear exactly just the difference, just the different parts in the audio. So if I keep this down at minus 100 and just turn on Delta, you'll hear what's being changed in the audio. Those kicks. So it's bringing down those kicks. Those kicks are the thing that is kind of poking out in that bottom end. So that's the thing that I want to deal with first. I want to bring those kicks down. Let's take a listen to it before and after.
Oh, it takes a man to know when something's gone. I come to you like
So it's clamping down those kicks just a touch. Out of these 4 modules, they're all doing just a small amount, so that when we bring all 4 in, that's when we get the real big difference. Now down the bottom here, we've got the envelope. I've got it set to half at the moment. You'll see that this ramp changes as we bring this to maybe a smaller amount. So let's go to a 30-second note, and you'll see that this ramp comes back up far quicker. So the ramp here is far steeper. If I bring it back to a half, you'll see that it gets far gentler. It's not a straight up movement, it's more of a gradual rise back up.
Oh, it takes a man to know when something's done.
So that can help with if you're getting too much pumping, or maybe you're not getting enough pumping, maybe you want that kind of pumping effect. You can manipulate this control, and this will help rein in how long it's bringing down that low end information for, how long it takes to come back up to normal. So that's all I'm doing with this one module. And then stabilizer. This is an interesting one, because when I first looked at this, I thought that it was kind of like a spectral, almost like a Soothe 2 kind of thing. But when you bring it in just on the low end, it does something really interesting. Let's take a listen to it before and after, and then we'll discuss exactly what it's doing.
Oh, it takes a man to know when something's done. I come to you like I'm the only one. We come and go, but life is not a one-act show. It's not over till I'm done.
So what that's doing is it's kind of working in a similar way to how Tonal Balance Control works, in that you set the kind of genre that you're working in. So at the moment we're in rock, because that's kind of the genre of the track. You can set the genre that this is going to kind of clamp your track to, so it knows how the bottom end in a rock track should sound, and it's making essentially your track sound like that, which is peculiar. It kind of sounds a little bit weird, but in this instance it really does work. And the delta function, again, you can take a listen to exactly what this plugin is doing. So let's do that now. Let's just take a listen to what this plugin is adding. It's adding a load in the bottom end, a load of warmth, and a load of, it's not just that low end transient information, it's really making it so that the whole bottom end just sucks together slightly. Super low end. It's just clamping that all in together. Now I've got the mid band and the high band turned off, so it's not affecting those whatsoever. It's just dealing with that low end. And what that's doing is it's just bringing the whole thing together and making it a little bit more whole, which prepares us nicely for when we go on to low end focus. Now low end focus, as I said, has been around for a couple of iterations of Ozone, but it's such a useful tool when you're dealing with this bottom end. Again, let's just take a listen to the delta and hear exactly what this plugin is doing, and then we'll discuss how it's doing it. Okay, so let's take a listen before and then after we've got this low end focus engaged.
Oh, it takes a man to know when something's done. I come to you like I'm the only one. We come and go, but life is not a one-act show. It's not over till I'm done.
So it's almost as if it's just bringing up that bass guitar, and this is really dealing with the transient low end as compared to the non-transient low end, the stuff that kind of goes on throughout the whole track. That's really the bass guitar and the real low end of the rhythm guitar in this instance. So what we're actually doing, if we turn on delta again, I've brought down the contrast on the punchy setting. And again, this is making the difference between the transient stuff and the non-transient stuff either larger or smaller. So in this instance, we're making it smaller. We're saying, okay, take that punchy stuff and bring it down so it's closer to the non-punchy stuff. If I bring it up the other way, then you'll hear that kick drum just get loads bigger, and you'll hear that kick drum really poke out in the bottom end. Just the delta. So the kick drum's subdued. really bringing up that kick. But bringing it down means that we're evening out that low end, and we're making it so the bass guitar and the kick drum are kind of sitting in that same dynamic range, so that they're not having one poke out too much more than the other. Let's take a listen to that in with the mix and just hear exactly what it's doing when we bring up that contrast to above 0.
Oh, it takes a man to know when something's done. I come to you like I'm the only one.
Cool, so when we bring that contrast up, it creates more contrast between the stuff in the low end, the kick and the bass guitar. Now in that instance we were clipping because we are bringing up that low end, so it's going to be clipping on the meters, but we're not actually doing that. That's just to kind of show you what it sounds like. In this instance we're reining them in slightly. If that's actually bringing the bottom end down too much, if by taking that transient information down it's losing a little bit of low end, then we can bring up the overall gain of that bottom end using the gain slider here. Let's just do that and see if we can bring in a little bit more of that bottom end.
Oh, it takes a man to know when something's done. I come to you like I'm the only one. We come and go, but life is not a one-act show. It's not.
Cool, that's sounding good. And you'll see that in tonal balance control, that crest factor is coming more into that middle section. Ideally you'd have it right in the middle, but that's always going to change for track to track and genre to genre. As long as you're sitting within that middle bound, then you can be pretty sure your low end is sounding decent. So let's have one last listen to this before any of that processing, and then let's bring it all in and we'll hear how we've severely improved that bottom end in this rock metal kind of track.
Oh, it takes a man to know when something's done. I come to you like I'm the only one. We come and go, but life is not a one-act show. It's not over till I'm done.
It's just made it fill out so much more. It's taken the disparity between the kick and the bass guitar and just completely squashed it and got rid of that disparity completely. Previously, the kick was really punching out in the low end and the bass guitar was lacking somewhat, but using those modules in Ozone 10, some of the new modules and some of the older modules were able to rein in that bottom end so nicely, and it really has improved this master. Thanks so much for checking it out. I hope this has been useful for you. I'll see you again soon. Take care.